Hey, welcome. Thank you for being here today. Today I'm going to do something artistic. I know that you're used to seeing some of my watercolors and my new venture into oil painting, but one of my first creative ventures in recent years, right before I got started on watercolor painting, was to try LinoCut. It gave me tendonitis in my elbow, and so I don't do a whole lot of it. But this year for our Christmas card, I wanted to try my hand at it again. I got some better carving tools and some better lino, and so hopefully it won't be as bad of an issue, and I won't be doing a lot of it at a period of time. In any case, that's more than you want to know. You're here to see what I'm doing. So every year since I started watercolor painting, I have made our own Christmas cards. I've painted them an original, and then I had them printed. But this year I thought, I don't really want to paint something, because Diane had a desire to do Charleston's symbol of hospitality, the pineapple. There's the famous pineapple fountain downtown, and the pineapple is noted as an image of hospitality here. The crews of ships would come in, they'd bring there's a whole story about putting a pineapple, the ship captain putting a pineapple saying he was home and welcome and come and see. I don't think I have the story right. Check it out. It's historical. Nonetheless, it is a modern symbol here of hospitality in Charleston. And you see it all over Christmas displays, like the word joy, the O will be replaced with a pineapple, and giant lights at the theater downtown. At the airport, I saw Joy and Noel with the pineapple as well in giant light displays. And Diane wants me to make a giant light display for our front yard, but that takes a bit more resources, and where do I store it when I'm done? In any case, she wanted the pineapple in our card this year. So I thought, well, the perfect way to do that is LinoCut, because I don't really want to paint a pineapple. I don't know why. I could. So this is reversed, and at the end, though, I'll show you what it looks like when it's fully done. All right, so how did I get here? Well, I found a YouTube video that talked about how to transfer an image onto the lino, and I'll briefly share with that, but I'll leave a link to the actual video if you want to go find out for yourself. I don't want to take credit for that. And it's probably well known in LinoCut circles, but it was new to me. So the process was I created this image on CorelDRAW, a graphics design program that I use. There's a lot less expensive design programs you could use to create your drawing. But in any case, I printed it on my laser printer. There are other transfer programs, or there are other transfer processes for inkjets, but I used a laser printer process, and I printed it on the sort of waxy paper that is underneath labels. So whenever you have mailing labels and you're done with all those labels and those stickers, that sort of waxy paper that they're adhered to is what you use to print your image on. Pretty cool idea. And so I got it, and I cut it to the right shape. You laid it on top of the lino. Before you cut it to shape, and before you lay it on the lino, you coat the lino with this Liquitex acrylic medium. It is a gloss heavy gel. There's other brands, other equivalents, but this is what was in the video, and I wanted to make sure I got the same thing, so I didn't make any mistakes. And so you brush that on evenly, fairly good coats, and then you lay your print on here in the proper position that you want. You burnish it, you get it to really make sure it's evenly coated, no air bubbles, and it's just adhered well. You let it dry. They said at least overnight. They said the longer the better, so I let it dry like 2 or 3 days. And then I came and peeled it off, and here it is, just perfectly on there. And now I get, I've already started a little bit of the carving, but let me show you a little bit of the carving process, and then we'll print some out. So looking forward to this. So, but the end result is that everybody's going to get an original card. an original signed numbered card this year. So I'm excited about that. And if you're one of the ones on our list, I hope you enjoy it. All right, I see that there's a little bit of a glare and I don't really have the ability to get rid of that. But basically you take these carving tools and you first go around all your important objects, particularly letters. This border is going to be really challenging because I want to make sure I don't cut through that. And you never put your hand in front of your tool. I thankfully have not learned the hard way. I paid attention to artists who have shared that they did learn the hard way. But they're very sharp and you don't want it to come around. And as you go around the curve, you just sort of turn while the blade is in there, slightly pushing. And then you go and you keep going along the line. Now, I don't want to go into that because I don't want to mess that up. So I'm going to turn this back around and start at that point and go back in. And this isn't a lesson on how to carve a LinoCut, so I'm going to stop giving instructions and I'm just going to carve away. All right, now the nature of LinoCut, it also is done in wood cut, same sort of style. It usually is kind of rough. A lot of people who are very skilled at this do very fine work. I have only done a few of these, so I don't expect this is going to be super fine. So to have that chiseled sort of look and not everything to be beautifully smooth is perfectly fine. You got to set your expectations on what look you're going for. And, certainly I'm going to be challenged with my expectations on these fine little leaves and berries here. We'll see how it comes out when it's all said and done. But going through here, yeah, that might be a challenge. So I've got various tools. Some are these wide rounded blades. This is the short blade. This is a flat one. And this is a V that's much bigger. But then I also have this other really small one, so you can get into some of these areas. And yeah, it's all a little challenging. Certainly time consuming. Let me pause here and just add a few little things. I'm getting ahead of myself, obviously, because I didn't trim around that to protect all of that, but I wanted to get a little bit of the inside done just because I wanted to get away from doing really fine stuff for a few moments. But most of this won't take ink and therefore transfer to paper, but occasionally little lines will. So you still kind of want to go into a pattern that if some lines do get transferred on to the paper, you're comfortable with the way it looks. And so I want from the spikes to have some radial sort of lineage. And so that's why I'm going away from the spears of the pineapple. And then down in here, I'll probably create some other sort of, linear pattern so it looks like maybe it's on a table if any of those lines appear. The goal is that they don't, but if they do, I want them to look like they are intentional and fit in to the design. There it is. I finished the carving and we will see how well it comes out. The next step is to do a test print and I'll show you how I do that. So stick around. All right, so that I did that in 2 sessions because, as I said at the beginning, I didn't do a lot of carving anymore because of tendonitis in my elbow. And actually my elbow started to hurt a little bit. The forearms and the elbow, the carving caused a little bit of pain in there. I, in general, have some elbow pain anyway. This isn't a medical show. You don't need to know all my ails. But, you know, I had to spread it out and give my elbow a little bit of rest. But I think it came out pretty good. The little berries and the leaves were a challenge to print. I think I carved one of the berries away. But we'll see how it all comes out, because getting the nice curves in some of those loop-de-loos and going around the berries was a bit more challenging and may not look as refined, but that's okay. This is a wood carving, or technically this is a lino carving, a LinoCut, but it's the same principle. And so it's not meant to be quite as refined. It's got a cut look. So we'll see how it comes out. Let's take a break between the carving and the printing just to talk about some of the supplies and the journey that I've been on to get the supplies I need and are still discovering and learning. I think when you first go into doing LinoCut, you probably get a kit from a company called Speedball, and you get the carving tools. The blades are in the middle of this. I began to find, as a lot of YouTube artists also share, that the constant need to switch out the tips while you're carving is just really slows you down. So I've upgraded to these power grip blades. And as you saw me carving, those were really great just to swap them out as I went along. There are far more expensive ones. These are probably a mid-grade. They were perfect for me. In those kits, you often get, you know, some easy cut, this is just sort of a rubber ink pad type thing. Early on, I did some cutting into those. This was a Christmas card I did years ago. This is sort of the remnant of the ink still on it. And that was fun. And then, of course, you know, in those kits, you often will just buy some of the Speedball ink. I was fine with some of it, but I found that I never could get a good coverage. I would do the press and it would come off sort of splotchy. I came to realize that the Speedball inks just probably are not a good enough quality. It's a water-soluble ink. So then when I was doing a black one, I moved to the Golden Open slow drying acrylics. Gives you a little bit of time to work. This gave me great coverage, was really nice. For this project, I want to do silver, and Speedball has a silver metallic, but this Cranfield, I read from other artists, is supposed to be far and away better, and I hope so because it was expensive. And I bought a tin that's probably way too much. I felt like I just had it in my mind that these tubes were too small, this size. And frankly, the tube of the Cranfield was double this size. That probably would have been enough. But I'm just going to have to do a lot of projects with metallic silver ink, I guess, over time. Oh, well. Speedball, usually you use one of these barons, and or a lot of people will use the back of a spoon, a big soup spoon type thing, as you're putting pressure on the back side of the paper to make sure that the ink fully transfers to the paper. And that is fine. That's if you're doing, you know, just small jobs. Because I'm doing, you know, well over 100 of these cards, I got this hand lever press, and I'll just push it down and put even pressure everywhere, and we'll see how that works. For a big print job, I think that'll be good. I saw some other artists use that and thought, oh, I think I'm ready for that, for this project in particular. Of course, to spread the ink, you need a glass. In my case, I went to a place called Tap Plastics, and I just had this made so that I could roll out my ink. Here's an ink roller that came from Speedball. I haven't done a lot of investigation to figure out why that's not perfectly fine, but I know that a lot of companies make it. This one just came with this press. The rubber does feel less spongy, so maybe that allows for better spreading of the ink. I don't know. I'm going to play around with it and we'll see. And then to sharpen your tools, you have the slip strop. I've not opened and used it yet because these tools are still new, but to maintain them, that should be a useful tool, and I will give that a try. All this depends, of course, how far you're going to go into this as a hobby or craft, or maybe even a side gig career, if it's your passion. I just find that sometimes you can get good tools too soon, and it's maybe a waste of money. But then I also find that bad tools leave you disappointed, and so then you give up quicker because you're like, I don't like this. This is too hard, or it doesn't come out the way I expected. And so I find that, like in painting, better brushes really do make a difference for me. Better quality artist grade paint or inks rather than student grade make a difference. So if you think you're gonna stick with it, then treat yourself a little. And you know, if you're the type that just dips your toe and then quits, well then yeah, don't waste a lot of money. But if you are the creative type that's going to go and do a bunch of stuff, well then, you know, spend 10-20% more and give yourself tools that will last. That's my opinion. I'm not trying to sell any of these to you, but if you want to try some of these tools and you appreciate my perspective on it, we've got an Amazon link to these tools at no extra cost to you, but it does offer a small commission to me. So I'd appreciate that. You can find that in the description below. All right, back to the project. All right, we're going to just try a test print here. This is pretty impressive, this tin of ink, paint, whatever. All my offset knives are with my oil paints somewhere else, so I'm just gonna try it this way. All right, let's see here. Gotta roll this out super thin. Oh, that's sticky ink. I can imagine that's gonna cover beautifully. I wanna get it even distribution on the section I create. Get it on the roller nice and evenly. And then we're going to try rolling it on the block. Make sure there's good coverage, but we don't want to get it on so thick that it creates clumps. So we'll see how this prints. You know, I talked about leaving some of those marks in there to create energy, and so obviously those are high enough to get the ink. Now, whether or not they're high enough to actually print on the paper, we will see. If too much of that is too high and ends up on the paper, then I may need to wipe it off or carve it back out further. But we're going to run a test print or so. I've got this print quality cardstock. I know that there are lots of types of papers you could print on. Some of the more beautiful handmade onion skin type things are good, but for this project, I want the bright white, thicker paper. So let's see how this works. Cross your fingers with me. Say a prayer. This is going to be the challenge for me. I know that there are ways to create frames. Then I can just lay it down there. All right, let's give this a try. Push it down where it's even. Apply pressure. Push, push, push. I don't know how much I need to push, but I'm pushing, using all my might. Let's see. Let's see how this works. I'm gonna lift it up, see if there's an even coverage, just ever so slightly without lifting it all the way off. Yeah, oh. Well, I'm not completely dissatisfied, but I think I put the ink on too thick. Let's see if you can tell in here. There's just sort of lifted edges of thick ink. Obviously, that's not very refined through there. Part of it is that my carving may not be very refined. I'll own that. But I just think that first off, I got the ink too thick. I'm really pleased with how the lines in the pineapple came out. So now that some of that ink's been lifted, I'm gonna see if just running a second on there is gonna work. You should ink between each print, but again, I've put the ink on too thick, so maybe I have enough left on there. That'll give me an indication anyway on a thinner layer of paint if it works better on the block. Yeah, there's still a decent amount of paint. Yeah, I got it on way too thick, but this now clearly looks thinner and better. You can even see some of the lines in the middle of the cutout of the leaves. But I may go through there and clean that up a little bit, do a little bit more carving. And I think because this was the second layer, I mean, not the full run of ink, getting those splotches in the middle of the letter, I don't know if you can see those. That shouldn't have happened. There's some of that. So that's because this isn't a good even layer of paint, or ink rather. So, but I can see how that's gonna look. I like. Let's try cleaning up my carving a bit. Okay, let's do a little carving out based on this sample here. All right, something that I didn't realize, but I'm glad to have figured it out, and this makes a lot of sense, is that this is an oil-based. Make sure you have some Gamsol or the other brands that you prefer of the safe turpentine type products to do the cleanup on this. Okay, let's give this all a try again. Flatten this out a little bit. Let's just roll a thin layer on here. Give this a shot again. Yeah, this is the problem. You got to make sure your hands stay clean because you're touching your paper and you don't want to get ink on it. Okay, I'm much happier with that. Much, much happier with that. Tell me what you think in the comments. If you're really experienced in LinoCut and you see I'm making some serious errors, I wouldn't mind some advice. All right. Only 130 more. Okay, here they're printed, all dried up. And now I am signing and numbering them. I'm going to sign them all first and then number them. Just how my brain sorts one task at a time for speed. I decided to do a limited edition run of 125. I made 150, but there's always a few that I'm not so happy with, so I took out a block of them, and they won't get signed or numbered. And here's the last one, 125 out of 125. All right, then what we did is I designed, we're putting it on a brown craft paper card, and I designed a section inside with the sentiment and an explanation of the symbol of the pineapple. I already shared a little bit about that earlier in the video, but I wanted to make that clear for everybody else who received it. And then on the back, the name of the card, I called this Our Gracious Host because the pineapple is the symbol of hospitality, and Noel is the first Christmas, and I believe that our God is the host. He is the creator. He created the best experience for us to live, and he calls us to come and live the good life with him. And so he's a gracious host. And that's what the sentiment explains as well, that's our wish that people experience that. And then an explanation of what LinoCut is, and that this is a limited edition series. Hopefully by reading this, they'll realize, oh, let's not throw this away with the other cards. But I'm not naive enough to think that my card is going to be saved forever by every person and framed and put in their house at some point. But I am still filled with joy and desire to create a personal and unique original gift for all of our recipients. Originally, that's what Christmas cards were about. Rather than buying gifts for everybody, you sent a card with your, your wishes for them, and that was the gift. So, and then I include on here, hoping that, and if you're watching this and received a card, hopefully this triggered you to watch it, but I'm letting you all know that this is showing up on the YouTube channel. So thank you for watching. This is going to be adhered to the top like that, and then obviously enclosed in an envelope, labeled, stamped, and sent off to our recipients. Hey, thanks for watching. I hope that you found some pleasure and enjoyment in watching how I made the LinoCut and made a gift for all of our Christmas card recipients this year. LinoCut's a fun art and method of art, and so I hope that that might inspire you to try it. It's a fun and easy way to be creative, and so Yeah. So thanks for watching. And if you like this, would you, like and subscribe? And if you're one of the recipients of the Christmas card, I hope it brings joy to you to know how much we appreciate you in our lives. All the people that are in our lives fill us, enrich us, bless us, and are part of our journey. And we're so grateful for you. So thank you, everybody. Hey, be good to others. Bye-bye.